west side.
Okay, yeah, just give me a number. Yeah, that's true, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah, just give me a number.
Already got all together.
Yeah, yeah, that's, I can tell you.
4,000.
Thanks.
You got a buddy of mine for home.
I can figure it out really well.
Well, this guy, every year, drive them up there.
Just give me a second here.
Well, I was trying to go with the call.
This is,
Call me, he'll
so much, and all right, salary resolution.
I heard somebody beat me.
He told me here last summer.
I was just gonna say, meeting adjourned.
You could do that. It's complicated I think the guys, and he...
But he was telling me, well, let's just tell me, I was
And this is, I didn't start. He called up slow. That's what they meant. No, that's what they said. My mom was like, saying that. He was and I corrected him. He was getting a lot of things that he needed. Well, and you got to remember, also, that month, you got to have a there's a lot of fight for that.
Of course, I guess the foreman
It's a good discussion. It's a good discussion. My personal opinion, they need more. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Yes, I agree. Yeah, we need to. Yeah, well, we have a committee for that. It's not my show. The highway department and the girls at the courthouse, I believe they need it. Oh, I know. Sure. But what they don't tell you is that that department is going to be I had no idea. I thought that was one great area. Valley Zone. Like something how cheap. It's too late now, so we got to do something. And then IMRN, a lot of things going on. FRP, yes, it all comes in. Get out of this business. With the ARPA my dad got sick.
How we got it? How we going to use it?
We're good. But again, it's right.
I think that's better for the county.
It is. It is. My sister had so you got well, not all this, but it just you know, like you at home, you only have so much money.
I'll do that.
I didn't see it was the one time.
Yeah, well, probably didn't say everything exactly right, but give you kind
Give me
of
some idea. Sure.
the concept.
That's
It's a
more than I
mess.
had.
It's a mess. Let's just put it that way.
Not tonight.
Oh, that's all right. I got that.
Every pop. I'm hitting the spot. Let's say
Yeah.
Call the meeting to order, and we'll start out with Sharon on prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to serve our community. Though we're facing difficult times, please help this group put our differences aside and come together to work towards our goal of making the county an even better place to live and work. Help us capitalize on our individual talents to achieve these goals and be a guiding light for our community. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Kenny Barr.
Here.
Barbara Bennett. Here. Mark Bennett. Teresa Bain.
Here.
Brian Kaufman. Cassie Cox.
Here.
Dennis Durnovich.
Here.
Jesse Durbin. Julie Edwards.
Here.
Gary Gergany.
Here.
Rod Hyde.
Here.
Matt Kessler.
Here.
Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Sharon Ongman.
Yes.
Robert Orman.
Here.
Gary Patterson.
Here.
Gary Piercy.
Here.
Robert Simpson.
Here.
Jeff Slifer. David Switz. Don Tate.
Here.
Lynn Williams.
Here.
Okay, we have a form already.
Approval of the minutes from April 14th. Is there any questions on them? If not, I'd entertain a motion for that. Kenny Barr.
I'll second.
Bobby Orman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Public body comment, and I want to emphasize that please give us your name, and there is a 5-minute limit. Thank you. Carol.
I was at the county farm today, and I just want to report that they have planted 180 acres of beans, and that Stu said when the other 20 acres dries out, they will get those planted.
Thank you for the wonderful news.
Jake, I am actually with Gregor's lodging and general store out there by the lake. So we are actually trying to figure out, we filed a liquor license application, and we're just trying to figure out kind of like the status of it. Maybe like when zoning meetings are and kind of go from there. We have been informed that Oakland Township kind of caps their liquor license that are permitted.
It's actually, the liquor ordinance states that there to be, for those wet townships, there to be 2 licenses per wet township. Oakland Township is wet. Oakland Township has 2 permits issued already. I have spoken with the state's attorney's office about possibly updating and reworking the liquor ordinance, and I've spoken with the liquor commissioner, who's the board chairman, and that office, because somebody's dad was in, great guy, yeah. And, you know, I'm hoping that they can work work on something to get you guys your liquor license soon, because I think that he wanted to do one for package and also one for maybe that you could pour on site,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, my question is, says there are 4 in Oakland Township that are active right now. So there's Nemertz.
We don't, that's in the village of Finley.
Oh, okay.
This is for the unincorporated areas of Shelby County.
Gotcha,
There's
okay.
2. At Coon Creek Castaways, they have 2 licenses.
Oh, what about Eagle Creek? Is that
Eagle
different?
Creek's closed and non-existent, so,
Oh, okay.
yeah, that doesn't count.
Well, the
So-
golf course.
They have a license as well, you're right, and they're in Oakland Township, don't they?
Yeah.
So, they've got 3. So, the liquor ordinance, I don't even remember the last time the liquor ordinance was written, and it needs to be updated, and I repeatedly said it needed to be updated.
Okay, all right.
Is there someone like we would work with on that then?
I think I've told your dad to contact the board chairman, he is liquor commissioner for the county, and the state attorney's office, and unfortunately, right now, that's all I can suggest.
We did contact them. They haven't been in contact back with us at all. So is there anybody else we could contact? Or set up a meeting or something?
Can we get on the zoning meeting?
Zoning doesn't have anything to do with liquor licenses, unfortunately, they don't. So.
What do we do if nobody contacts us back then? How do we make it?
We just want to know like what the policy is and how does that work?
I would continue to be a greasy wheel. I mean, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, you know, and I mean, that's, unfortunately, that's all I can tell you to do. I mean, is just keep, because unfortunately, you file your paperwork in the county clerk's office, but I can't, there's nothing I can do. So, and I understand the frustration, because it's the prime of the season, so.
Oh, we're just trying to figure out even if it's not this year, maybe next year. Just
I think that the liquor ordinance should probably be reworked, fingers crossed, by next, I would like to think before next year, because actually applications will have to go out for renewal in September. So sorry, it couldn't be more helpful.
Well, it's just, because I'm confused, there's 3.
There's 3 in Oakall, there's
So-
actually 3 in Prairie by the same landowner, and that's what I said. Perhaps they could work if like one person has 2 different types of licenses, perhaps they could count that maybe as one, but I'm not an attorney.
Right.
All I do is accept the applications, so this is kind of out of, unfortunately, my hands.
so is it the state's attorney then that we need to?
I would recommend the board chairman as the liquor commissioner and the state's attorney, because, you know,
And then if they aren't working with us, then we just keep trying?
So we hiring an attorney? I mean, what's our next step?
Just keep trying?
well, I mean, you are right next to Lithia Springs, correct?
Yeah.
They're actually in the city limits of Shelbyville. I mean, you know, I don't know what the legalities are about possibly annexing in and going to the city of Shelbyville.
Okay.
But that's just, you know, me speaking off the cuff.
Okay, well, thank you for your help.
And just one more question. If we were going to annex, then what would be the process for that?
I don't know. I think that's just, you know, a thought process that I'm like, well, you know, if it was me, but I don't know anything about that. Get a lawyer. Contact a lawyer.
Okay, thank you.
Any others?
Yeah, my name's Kirk Allen. Your auditor was told certain records were no longer available because they had been destroyed. As it pertains to the electronic log-in and log-out record, according to an affidavit I have obtained, the auditor was told by Robert Zakowski that there was no longer any such record available in the sheriff's office. That was a lie. We know it's a lie because after Zakowski retired, we had another person FOIA the same record, and sure enough, that person obtained the very record that I did a few years ago, which is the same record the auditor was told was no longer available. Why is that record important? Because it proves the log-in and log-out times for radioed in do not match the payroll records. To lie to the auditor and say it no longer is available appears to be a cover-up, because if the records ever got used to compare the actual payroll, there'd be some people with serious problems. The payroll issue is far worse than you have been told, and it's clear records were intentionally withheld or concealed from your auditor. Several in this room have taken to the streets to badmouth your treasurer in one breath, then praising Missy Haynes as a candidate for treasurer in the other. I asked Ms. Haynes about her payroll problems while at the sheriff's office, and she claimed to have no knowledge of any payroll problems with her payroll, which is ironic because she filed a grievance, so there obviously was a payroll problem. That fact should concern everyone, because if you're unable to recognize your own payroll problem, how on earth can you expect her to identify similar problems for the entire county? For example, according to records in the hands of the state police, she violated the contract by cashing out vacation time not yet earned, credited with 80 hours of vacation time just 2 weeks later that had not been earned, that resulted in an overpayment of $1,284. She apparently had no clue she was underpaid on overtime for 7 hours and 40 minutes, or that she was overpaid for 37 hours. She also was overcredited for comp time on May 13th and December 24th, and overpayments for May through December 2019, including comp time earned, was $1,769.40. It's amazing what log-in, log-out records will prove. Yep, just what the county needs, a new treasurer that's at the top of the pile with payroll problems that she had no clue of. She's not the only one. Those records prove several folks in that office had a problem. Sheriff accounts, I beg of you to audit them immediately. I have a receipt for Mr. McCall for $350, does not indicate what the payment was for. I've confirmed in the FOIA, they have no idea what the payment was for. This is a list of all the guns that were supposedly sold and supposedly returned. There's 26 on that. All those guns have a name who purchased them. Mr. McCall got a refund check for $400, and it says for refund gun sale and reimburse $25 fee. Well, all the guns are accounted for according to Mr. Koontz. Got a name for everybody that bought those. But what Mr. Koontz didn't share was the guns that were seized. The guns that were seized specifically say all guns taken to locked and loaded. What started this process back in 2018 was the fact some of those guns landed on Gunbroker. Now there's 7, possibly 6 now that aren't accounted for. And I'm working with your current sheriff, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. We did uncover that one of them has been recovered, and we have a picture of it to confirm it. It was not accurate on the inventory. Don't know why, but it was not even close to being accurate. So the other side of this, I don't know how much time I have left.
You still got another minute.
All right. The other side of this is very important, and I said this when you had a meeting out at the lake. The numbers don't match, folks. The money taken in, the money paid out, and the money deposited. They're in conflict. And you're not going to resolve that unless it's audited. Those accounts need to be in the hands of the treasurer, and they need to be audited because the math does not add up. And it's not my math. It's your own records that we got through. And I've been saying this for 2 years, and there's no resolution to this. The $25 reimbursements that were paid out. Not only are these people not allowed to buy the guns, the taxpayers paid for their FFL transfer reimbursement. Why is that a taxpayer obligation? They shouldn't have had to pay for that. That needs to be recovered, and it can be recovered, and I would ask that somebody step up to the plate and fix this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Any others? Okay, we'll go on. Bob Simpson.
Okay, the first thing we have on the agenda is a resolution to rezone property by Bart and Michelle Owens located at 1457 North, 2300 East Road in Shelbyville Township, 2.95 acres from rural residence to general business for rental cabins. And the planning commission met, and we met with Mr. Owens several times, and we also had the appeals committee, and they all approved it. And I believe he's here if he wants to get up and take a speech about what he's intended on doing. And cabins, he's going to start out, I think, with one, depends on how the economy goes. We did change the regulations on it a little bit for a variance on the size to match up with about what the residence requirement is, 900 square foot, and he's going to build lofts in them, so that will give that much living space of 900 square foot.
Gary, I so moved to.
Oh, wait, I was still talking.
I'm done. On
I
that
so
part.
moved to accept this resolution.
Okay, Lynn makes the motion,
I'll second that.
second from Denny. Now there can be some discussion, and would you like to talk first?
I was, I've met at least 2 or 3 times with the zoning board and the board of appeals, and, was it the planning commission that was first? And we've ironed out a few, I don't even want to call them issues, it was just, I didn't realize some of the things we had to do, and we've made a couple changes to it to make it more conducive to go with the zoning rules. So, you know, as I stated, we did ask for 4 cabins originally. We'll probably just do 1 this year with that has to do more with the economy and the price of lumber right now than anything else. But I appreciate all the work they did. I hope you guys pass it. They will be larger cabins than some of the ones that are currently in the county, but we're fine with that. We've come to some good agreements on it. So if anybody has any questions or anything.
I have one.
Yes.
The neighbor who opposed it, have you talked to them any about it?
No, I have not.
Okay.
You be my comment, Nick. They have a letter, and Denny's been out there. I'll let him explain their concern. They was more concerned about trespassers and the entrance in and out. They didn't think it was safe. But Denny's been out there.
Yeah, as Bob said, I went out there and talked to Mr. Owens on the phone. I met with his neighbor and stuff, and cabins are going to be in the wooded area. You're not even going to be able to see them from the roadway. I believe, according to that letter from the people up in Bloomington that were contesting that, they were concerned about the traffic on that road. Now that road is a well-traveled road in that it's the road that you take just north of, or straight north of Sloan's. And I don't know what that other tractor place up there is. You know more about that.
Yeah, Barker's.
But there's traffic on that road, and there's a subdivision up there. But the planning commission, we met, just like they said, and it passed 100%, and with the Board of Appeals, 100%.
Where's it at from like Glen Acres? Is it on north of there?
It's north of there. You go down that hill, and when you go down that hill, I believe there's a new bridge there, and you'll see his mailboxes, and you'll take that lane, and it'll take you right up to his house and where the cabins are going to be and stuff.
So it's the first lane after the bridge, and it's to the west?
Well, it's the second lane. The first lane
Second
is
lane.
the old Chautauqua.
Okay,
area out front.
Gold Lithia, okay.
So the second lane would be.
The second one.
But
Okay.
the acres we're looking at developing on the front, 2.95 acres. I actually live in the back, 9 acres. I'm back about 2,000 feet. And the other neighbor, he bought the property off me. He lives about 1,000 feet back on that same lane. The 4 people, they're all residents around it and have full-time living. Nobody had an issue with it. The people that sent the letter, they do use the cabin, but they actually only have a pavilion on their property. They come down twice a year. The neighbor north of them has 18 acres, and he had no problem with it at all. I talked to him on the phone multiple times. They were concerned a little with the traffic, but I don't think the traffic would be an issue. They're another 500 feet up the road, that I don't think that would be an issue for them. We're not allowing any campers. It's only going to be cabins. It's not going to be a campground or anything. Just for rental cabins.
Okay, any other questions?
Can I ask something?
Mhm.
Well, in her letter, she said something about towed recreational vehicles or oversized vehicles. Is there plenty of room for this type of thing?
We're not even going to allow those type of vehicles. We're not going to have a campsite. We're not, and Denny's been up there. I mean, you could not turn around the camper.
No.
On my lane.
So is it in this resolution then to prohibit that?
I don't remember if they, I don't know if the committee
I
prohibited
mean, is it
camping or
something
not.
that needs to be put in there in case? I'm just asking, I don't know, because I don't know this area.
I don't see anything about
If it
access
doesn't
on
need to
here
be, I
about
mean,
where
that's
it's
fine,
going
but I
to
just was wondering.
Gary?
You gonna have any recreational area for like side-by-sides or four-wheelers or
No.
anything like that?
No.
I just want to be sure.
No, the Army Corps basically surrounds most of my property there. And of course, you cannot ride recreational vehicles down there, so we would not. I mean, that's not a selling point. The original idea was just to have like getaway cabins for couples and things like that. We actually were going to do smaller cabins, but then you talk about the ordinance, they changed, it's fine. But that was our original intent, was not, I mean, that's just what we had in mind.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Bobby?
So, kind of to Barb's point, and this is kind of Jay, when you hear this, have you read through this resolution by chance?
Yes.
Okay, so down almost, it's the longer resolution where it says, whereas it is the opinion of the Shelby County Board that because of conditions peculiar to the site, particularly that adjoining landowners have been permitted to build structures of less than 900 feet, that departure may be without destroying the intent of such provisions. That a departure may be made without destroying such provisions. So are we basically permitting departure of this resolution without destroying any intended provision?
Well, I think the intent was to make sure it was 900 square feet.
Total. Just
Total
like
with-
living area and a house.
with the
would be
living
900
area.
square feet. So if I have a 600 square foot downstairs and I have a loft that's 900 square foot, that would be considered the 900 square foot living area.
Jessica just pointed out, the first thing is for the zoning, then the variance will be next. Any other questions on the zoning? Now you can make your motion.
We've got a motion.
We got a motion.
Oh,
I'm
I
sorry.
got a second.
I forgot.
Let's call.
I jumped in first. I'm sorry. I'm new. I apologize. Roll call, please.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Sturdivich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ongman. Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Gary Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
Okay, then the next piece is the variance. You want to present that, Bob?
Yes. If I find it on this sheet here.
It's the B.
Yeah.
I missed it also.
It's a variance on the ground floor requirement from 900 square foot minimum to an overall total of 900 square foot for rental cabins. That's the way it's worded. And that was to get it in the 900 square foot, just like anybody would building a house or anything, it's got to at least be 900 square foot living space. But it didn't, on the house, originally it didn't include the loft or upstairs. We included in this, that's why we're asking for a variance. There's some around the county that's smaller than that, but they grandfathered in years ago, and when the zoning really came in effect on houses and mobile homes and stuff, they went to 900 square foot. So we thought that ought to be the same.
Make a motion for that.
And he makes the motion.
Second.
Lynn makes a second. Now, any questions on this one? Bobby?
Yeah, so I jumped ahead, I guess. in the
That's
last
okay,
question,
so did
but,
I.
About a year and a half ago, I had a couple calls on micro homes and how they couldn't classify them as a home because they were really, really small. And so when I was reading through this, my knee-jerk reaction was like, well, if we've got a regulation for a certain square footage and we vary off that, then we open up the situation where if that intent of a rental property sells, then and it becomes a house, then it's a legal house. But anyway, I was just remembering back on conversations of including people with microhomes and stuff like that in years past, so I think this is good to do.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I missed somebody, okay.
On the mini homes or small homes, This we're dealing with though is for rental cabins, is that correct?
Yes.
That's separate from homes.
Well, the 900 square foot is still what we're gonna, well, we're gonna abide by with the law, yes.
Now we can roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Cernovich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany. Brock Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lynn. Sharon Ongman.
Yes.
Bobby Orman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Greg Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
John Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to you.
Yes. Okay, one more, Bob.
Okay, the next one is a request for a resolution to rezone the property by M&S Holdings Group, LLC, represented by Sean Starwall, located at 2108 North, 2300 East Road, 7.49 acres in the Finley area by the Finley Marina, from rural residential to general business to build storage rental units. And I understood that it was to be for large boats, nothing small storage like you see in town and things like that. And I believe he's here if you've got any questions.
Would you like to make any comments, Sean?
Am I able to now, or do you have to?
I think I gotta make a motion first.
Oh, that's right.
I'll make a motion.
Denny makes the motion and Lynn makes the second. Now you can make comments.
If there's any questions, I mean, I'm free to answer them, but I want to add storage buildings up in the area for large RVs and boat storage. And as he spoke, I'm not looking to have it to where people can bring their household goods and store them there. So that's what it's going to be, larger buildings. So
Is there any opposition to this at all?
there was opposition from one of the neighbors that's in Moultrie County at first. And I ended up, and you have a map in front of you, on 11 by 17. I believe the first page is the area that I've outlined and come to agreement to sell them that parcel so that they have a buffer there to block their view from what I'm doing and give them a little peace of mind. So I'm going to sell them that little piece of land right there that has the trees in it to help mitigate any complications with my neighbors. The second page you'll see there also is there should be a variance, or not a variance, but a restriction in the resolution that says that I won't build any structures on that particular area as well. There's a large drainage ditch that runs through there, and it doesn't behoove me to spend a bunch of money to move water. So I'm not opposed to that restriction at all.
Gary.
Yes, Denny.
As Bob said, I went out there and I met with these folks here, and that property butts up against Moultrie County. And we did contact Moultrie County as a committee and stuff, and people that Sean was talking about was Howard and Jill, what's her last name?
McIntosh.
Yeah. And they own Bowie's, which is located in Moultrie County, right next to his. There was not really any problems. They had a few issues that they talked about. They talked about them in between themselves. They solved them. And I was proud of them in that fact, and that it worked out the way it should, instead of getting everybody else, all the committees, and so there's not any opposition whatsoever. So I would wholeheartedly move for this resolution to be passed.
And the two committees passed that?
Yes, they did, and they have,
100%.
Yes,
they have a good working relationship. Both individuals came to these meetings, and Howard is for this, and if Howard needed to be here, he could have been here today, so.
I'm surprised he isn't. I texted him and asked him if he was
Yeah,
going to be
but
here.
I mean, everybody's in agreement with this, you know, everybody's happy.
But I got to tell you, I used to have a boat. I slipped at that marina for almost 14 years, and these people have done more in the last year and a half, 2 years than was done in the previous
That's true.
14 when I was there.
Will anybody be allowed to inhabit any of their units in these units? Like if somebody's got a store, will they be allowed to live in them?
No.
And, okay, and that's in your rules?
Only if Sean gets in the doghouse.
Okay, good.
No, nobody can live in it.
Okay.
There is a residence on the property right now that will probably house someone for a while, but eventually, as I go through my phases, that house will be knocked out and it'll be removed and placed in storage buildings, so.
The only reason I asked that, I know of some storage buildings that people live in, so that's why I wondered if that was
No, it will
handled.
be in the rules that they do not live
Okay.
in, and I do not wish for anybody to live in it. There's not gonna be enough power for them in there to live in there, so.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Sturbridge.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ogman.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes?
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
Thank you.
Next up is Reed Best for the County Highway Department.
So, my name is Reed Best. I'm presenting for Steve DeWitt. He's at a conference for the next couple days. So, I've got three 50/50 petitions. One of them is with Lakewood Township. It's at 1300 East and 650 North, which is, let me see, get you more of a location.
That's the one with Cold Spring,
One-
dude.
This one is just Lakewood in the county. It's 1 mile south of Lakewood, and it's just a corrugated metal pipe that's badly deteriorated. So it's going to be replaced with a corrugated metal pipe, and the estimated cost is $4,800 for that one. I don't know if you guys vote on these one by one.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
And that's
about-
50/50?
Yeah, 50/50 Lakewood and the county, 50/50.
Was that Barb?
Barb.
Barb made the motion.
I'll second.
Bob made the second. Roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Sturbridge.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ogman.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
All right, the second one is split between Lakewood Township and Cold Spring Township, so they each pay 25%, and then the county takes 50%. This one's at the intersection of 370 North and 1200 East, 3 miles southwest of Lakewood. It's on their township line, and it's another corrugated metal pipe that's going to be replaced with corrugated metal pipe, and the estimated cost on this one's $4,700.
Any questions on this one?
So moved.
Kenny?
Move it through.
Motion from Kenny,
No, second.
second from Don. Roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Mark Bennett, or Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Sturbridge.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ogman.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
Okay.
And the third one is on the Big Spring Township and Sigel Township line, so they each have 25% they'll pay, and then the county will pay 50%. It's on what they call Center Line Road, it's 400 North, and it's 3.2 miles east of Stewartson. It's a concrete box culvert that's in really bad shape, so they're going to take it out and replace it with 2 large corrugated metal pipe. It's a high priority as well, because it's, like I said, it's in real bad shape. And this has actually already been approved, but there was something wrong with the petition, so we're just revising the previous petition. So the estimated cost is $22,170. And again, 25% is Big Spring, 25% Sigel Township, and 50% Shelby County.
So move.
Bobby Orman.
I'll second.
Teresa, second. Any questions on this? Roll call, please.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bennett.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Surtovich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Sharon Ogman.
Yes.
Bobby Mormon.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Glenn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
And then I've got some general updates to share too. The Country Club Road resurfacing project is going to start on July 11th tentatively. Hal Paving's going to do that. And then we've got the Westerville Bridge, just half a mile south of Westerville on our county highway. It also begins early July tentatively. The Pew and Owen contractors have that. The Finley Bridge over the lake is to be inspected next week, May 16th through the 18th, and this will conclude the 2022 inspection season. And then also Steve DeWitt is enrolled in the bridge inspection course in Ohio on June 6th through 10th, so he will be qualified to run the bridge inspection program for us. That's about all I got.
So how have our bridges shook out this year?
Been good. Yeah, there's been nothing that popped out to us that said, hey, this is a real issue or anything like that. We didn't have any sort of re-rates or anything, any limits added on to any bridges this year during our inspection season at least. So yeah.
What's the procedure that you use to inspect that Finley Bridge?
We're going to get we've got chains that we drag on a kind of a cart on the deck to see if there's any sort of delamination in the concrete deck. And then we've got a snooper truck that bends in 2 different places so it can actually get us out and under where IDOT's provided for us for those 3 days. So we're going to get with
The arm will reach out and
it'll reach
go
out
under.
and under. Yeah.
That's what I was wanting to know.
Yep.
That
So
doesn't
it
require
is-
divers this time.
No, it doesn't require divers this time. That underwater inspection, I believe, is due next summer. But we're going to try to, the guys that are doing the inspection are going to try and do an underwater inspection while they're there with the boom truck. I don't see them doing it, but they claim they can try and pull it off.
Is that going to require shutting down that bridge, or?
No, but we're going to have traffic control, so one lane will be closed at a time.
Okay.
And the maintenance department here is going to provide that traffic control.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You.
Carrie Kingston, please.
We received some money from the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts to upgrade and modernize our courtrooms. And this was done after the budget year started. So I'm just asking for a resolution to be passed. We received $123,953.78 from the Administrative Office of the Illinois Courts. And I turned in claims in that exact same amount. So we'll be getting new computers, new equipment for both courtrooms, judges, and it's going to cost the county nothing. So we just have to have it paid out before June 30th. So that's why I'm asking for them to pass the claims so we can get them processed and paid before the end of their fiscal season.
Okay. Do I have a motion on this? Barb Bennett, second from Julie. Sorry. Any questions now for Carrie on this, Bobby?
Yeah, what's our cybersecurity? Is there anything that has to be done with that, or is it all closed system here?
It's just like we're getting new updated computers. That TV is going to be bigger. It's going to be a better sound system in here. So we can actually have hybrid and remote court hearings easier access.
So who manages the computers now?
My tech does.
Like, are they going to continue to
Yes.
manage these?
Yeah, we're not changing anything. We're just upgrading old equipment.
Any other questions?
I just have one comment to this, and this is purely a question of function and a comment to function is when I first saw this email come through, as far as we got this grant, we spent the grant, and now we need to amend the budget, my mind goes back to history. In the last couple of years, we've had to amend the budget over things that we didn't know about. And I would just ask, and I hope this resonates with any department head that's here, that at some point in time, let the board chair know, let a committee chair, like the finance committee chair or the budget committee chair know. That way the board can be updated, be aware of what's going on, because we have to amend the budget to do this. And quite frankly, like I said in the past, we've had to amend the budget on things that weren't emergencies, understanding this one is, because it was done on a grant time frame. But I would just ask that the board be brought up to speed along the way. And there's nothing, to my knowledge, there's nothing wrong with this one, except for it hit me sideways. I didn't see it. So.
We didn't either, and the first we heard about it was the middle to end of October.
Right. Well, that was 7 months ago.
Right, that was the first word we had mentioned of it. We didn't know we had the money until the middle or the end of February, so.
That's why I said, I hope this comment resonates to all the department heads that are here, and hopefully it gets out into the rest of the departments that aren't here, that at least bring a committee chairman of finance or the budget or something that at least we can be updated by the board, or updated as the board. So anyway, that's all I have.
And I would say I totally agree with Bobby that, when you know, we should know, so we kind of know what's coming up. Any other questions?
Yeah, just kind of a thought to that. It would be nice to amend the budget before we spend the money, just procedurally.
In all fairness, to answer that, I did request that the budget be amended over a month ago, but my request was denied because of a process. So I had to make a point that I needed the budget amended to accept the funds so that a line item could be used or made to expend the funds before the funds were actually required to be spent. The Administrative Office of Illinois Courts, pursuant to the grant, requires proof of payment. And the deadline by the AOIC in the state of Illinois is May 17th. Because the request for the resolution was not granted to be put on the April budget or county board agenda, we had to put it here for May, knowing that we had a May 17th deadline. In that time frame, we also had to request an extension from the Office of the Administrative Courts in the state of Illinois to be able to have the checks processed, returned back to the treasurer's office, and so that we could provide the proof required under the grant to be sent to the state of Illinois. So that's why the checks must be cut in this fashion. We weren't intending on asking to modify or do an emergency amendment to the budget and spend the money first. My request, and through Ms. Kingston and through the people in power, was to have this placed on the April agenda. But apparently that was misunderstood on how the grant process worked, even though it was clear from the rest of us. So I was very thorough in making sure that we were amending or requesting to amend first, because we didn't know. And like Ms. Kingston said, the grant was approved, and that notification came in February. When the grant was put out to all 102 counties in the state of Illinois, we actually didn't know who was going to get what and in what fashion. From what I can tell, it appears that almost every single smaller county south of I-80 was granted every single penny they requested. And then some, if they moved to amend the budget or moved to amend the grant, if things went up in price. So as it stood, everything was last minute, except to the extent that my request was for this resolution to be put on the April agenda. So just to be clear with full information to all of you, that I am pretty thorough. And I do learn rather quickly.
I do have one question. What committee denied putting it on the April ballot?
The request
Or
was made,
agenda?
my understanding is the request was made through the clerk and the state's attorney's office, the county clerk and the state's attorney's office.
Okay.
But they believe certain things had happened before it could be placed on the agenda, which I disagreed with. When Carrie contacted me, I told her to contact the state's attorney. Yeah, state's attorney's office indicated, and I don't know the details of that, but
Okay, I just wondered who you
request to do certain
contacted.
things first, which I thought was backwards, because I know this issue had been brought up before, and I wanted to make sure it was done procedurally and statutorily correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cassie?
Thank you for that information. Can I have your name, because I don't know it?
I'm Judge Amanda 80 Harlow.
Thank you.
Welcome to my courtroom.
As a board member only. Any other questions? Okay, roll call.
Katie Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett. Lisa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox. Dennis Sturdivich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Hyde.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz. Sharon Ongman.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Gary Piercy.
Yes.
Bob Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
Thank you.
Jay, looks like you're up next.
All right, this first one is, came out of the negotiations committee for the animal control ordinance salary, guaranteeing a minimum 35 hours of payment per week. If it exceeds 35 hours, be paid overtime or time and a half comp time, and over 40 hours paid at time and a half.
Need any motion?
I'll make
Lynn
that.
Williams? Second. Now question.
I just have a question as the payroll department, so point of clarification, because the animal control is the only employee on the ASME contract is actually a salary. I believe the contract states that his mandatory hours are 8 to noon, and then callback is needed. So I guess my point of clarification would be, are we then moving him to an hourly employee, so if he doesn't work 35 hours, he's not receiving full pay? Or are we just amending to where if he works over 35, he gets overtime, and if he's under 35, he still receives a salary? I'm asking for a point of clarification.
Would you like to answer that? I think it's on.
Well, it's
all
my
in the
understanding, what they
resolution.
voted on was to be salary mandatory 35 hours a week, minimum.
The overtime doesn't start till after 35 hours, correct?
So this amends it to where he has to work 35, not just 8.
No, he's on call,
Right.
so I mean, he's paid 35 hours for doing his,
Correct. It's minimum
8 till
35
noon.
hours a week.
and then whatever he's got to work up to 35 hours, but then after 35 hours is when he'll turn in overtime, and between the morning hours, which is 20 hours, and the 35, that's his on-call time, his working time.
I was asking for clarification as if he was still going to be salaried or if he was going to be changing to hourly. I just wanted a point of clarification.
He's both, I guess you'd have to say.
Well, it's an odd position because we don't.
It is an odd position.
Salary position is not normally receive overtime. So it makes it very confusing for the payroll department.
And that's what this was for, was to clear it up, and basically, he's the only department we've got, I think, that's one employee, one department, and department head, so he's everything.
So is he salaried or is he hourly? And if we're paying him time and a half, why is he getting time and a half? Does everybody in the county get paid time and a half over 35 hours? Or do they?
Either 35 or 40, depending on the
Well,
contract.
that's the big difference, 35.
Well, there's different employees, if you read the union contracts, different employees work different regular hours, then they get their time and a half after those hours, which is spelled out in the contracts.
The labor of the highway department, Sharon,
Okay.
working.
How are his, does he fill time sheets How do we know if he's worked 20 hours this week and getting paid for 35? Or if he, how do we know what hours he's worked?
He fills
out time sheets. Okay.
So this isn't a change from salary to hourly, this is just a documentation of it. If we blow past 40 hours a week, he's got, or 35 hours a week, he's got a document to show that he's put in overtime.
Yes.
Right. He basically,
Does that make sense though?
right, he's documenting his hours anyhow, but after 35, then he qualifies for overtime. And of course, he never knows when he's going to get a call in the middle of the night, and he is not on any kind of a standby pay because he's the only person.
Okay, I follow.
Any other questions? No, I think we already.
We have a
We
motion
have a
and a
motion,
second.
yes. Okay, roll call.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Abstain.
Dennis Sturdivich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ongman.
Yes.
Bobby Orman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 16 aye, 1 abstain. Cassie Cox.
Okay, you're up again.
The next one is a MOU that was negotiated for the clothing allowance for the highway department, giving them an additional $60. It was originally $3, then it was increased to $360 to cover the taxes. So that's what was passed through the negotiation.
Would you like to make a motion on that? Denny makes the motion and Sharon's got the second. Now, any questions for Jay on that? Sharon?
In the first paragraph of that, it states that they get reimbursed on presentation of receipts. Then you go down to item 1 and it says there is no presentation of receipts required. So do we need to make a change on those so that it reads the same?
That was the previous. Under the contract, they have to do receipts. Under this agreement, they do not have to.
Is that the resolution you were sent, Sharon?
It came with the
It
packet.
came with the
Did
board
something
packet?
come since Tuesday that I missed, that I didn't see?
I only got one. This is it.
Okay, does it say that it has to be both?
So what it says is, whereas the Shelby County Board, the Shelby County Highway Engineer, and Ashland Local 3322 recognize labor contract 21 to August 24, awarded a clothing allowance of $300 per fiscal year to the Highway Department laborers to be reimbursed by Shelby County upon presentation of receipts. And whereas laborers are not reimbursed for taxes paid towards clothing purchases. And where it is the intent of the parties for clothing allowances to approximate equal $300 after payroll taxes are applied, the parties agreed the following terms and conditions. So it is, this is what we had, this is what we're changing to,
Okay.
and then the 1, 2, and 3 is what we're changing to, which is that they get a lump sum of $360, no receipts required. And,
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox. Dennis Sturdivich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ongman.
Yes.
Bobby Orman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Hey, Jay?
Okay, the next one, the state legislature recently passed a new statute that every sheriff in the state is to be compensated at the rate of 80% of the salary of the state's attorney. The state pays 66%, and the county pays 33%. So this is just a resolution putting into effect what the new state law is.
Any motion on that?
I'll make it.
Barb and Larry second. Now, any questions?
What would that work out to?
114,
I don't know, and it's going to change.
like
Be 116,000, plus a little bit, because the state attorney's salary is gonna go up 2.9% of the library.
So what's the
Potential. Every year, potentially every year, it has the potential every year to go up, depending on what the state's attorney's salary is.
And this goes up every year.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox. Dennis Sturdivich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yes.
Sharon Ogman.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes?
Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson.
Yes.
Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, 17 ayes.
The next, I'll go ahead and discuss the next three, and you can take them up separately, but basically this is by law, county board has to set the salaries of the supervisor of assessment, the treasurer, and the clerk and recorder. It's my understanding that whichever committee this came out of, which would be
It was the fees and
Fees and
salaries
salaries.
committee.
agreed to a $5,000 a year raise effective December 1st for each of those three offices. And these three resolutions are just implementing that pay raise.
Is that per year for how many years? Or is that?
4.
4 years?
For 4
1st of December, starting this year. Anyone like to make a motion on the first one,
I'll make a motion.
which would be
Assessor.
the assessor, okay? Second? Denny, a second? Any questions on that?
I'd just like to make a comment. The assessor also is paid 50% of her wages by the state of Illinois. So it really, I mean, it's kind of like the sheriff. The sheriff is 33%, but the state pays 50%, so the only county is only 50% her wages. So, you know, that's just a statement, and
Plus, I think we pay all the benefits, correct?
that's right.
Okay.
Just, well, now you're getting benefits.
Hmm?
This one puts benefits in there.
Don't we currently pay benefits?
You do, but it's never been in a resolution.
It just wasn't in it before. Okay, so it's been added to the contract, okay?
Fixed.
Sharon?
I would like to make a resolution to amend that. The $5,000 is great, but they've got them where they're gonna get $5,000 in December, and they will not get another raise for 4 years. They're gonna be stuck like that. And I think they need at least a 2% raise a year for cost of living. I don't think most of us would want to take a job where we knew that for the next 4 years, we could never get another raise. And everybody else in the county has gotten all the benefits, all the cost of livings, all the increases, because, you know, and I just think these people deserve to get a cost of living raise at least. Even the state's attorney on July 1st will get 2.9%, you know, and I don't think it's asking too much that they get 2% per year on that December 1st. That's what I would like to propose.
I'll second that.
I just want to make a comment. I mean, yes, that sounds good, and they probably do deserve it. I'm just saying, it's always just been one lump sum. It's never been a percentage for each year or whatever. We do lumps, and they understand, that's how they've always understood when they run for the office. They get that one raise, they know what the salary is, and in 4 years or whatever, they get another raise. Now, not saying you can't change it, I'm not saying, I'm just saying that's just what we recommended. If you want to change it,
I would like to change it. I don't think it's fair that those people get stuck making the same amount of money for 4 years with no thought of being able to at least get a cost of living increase.
And
Also, the sheriff is an elected official, and so is the state's attorney, and they automatically get raises, you know.
Right.
And, you know, they know what their salary is the first time, and I think it's not right.
And can you tell me what the percentage of the raise was?
No, I don't know if I have
Let's
that.
see, was it,
Well, they're getting 5,000, you're talking about, they're getting
They're getting-
$5,000
mm-hmm,
on 63,330, and I do not have a calculator here.
okay.
But that's, I can tell you 2% on the first year of the 63,330 is gonna be 1,266, which would bring their salary up to 64,596.
No, they're currently at 58.
Right, but they're
So-
gonna go to 63 on December 1st, if this passes.
If this
If
passes,
this passes.
so you want the 63 plus the 2%?
Sure.
Okay. And the,
Yeah, Gary,
mhm,
let me say, they get the 5,000 this December, which would bring them from the 58 to the 63. Then the next year, a 2%. The next 3 years, 2% each year. So that on year,
okay, so this first year, they got approximately a 9% increase this first year. And then you want 2% a year on top of that after that is your motion then.
It winds up being 1,600 more on year 4.
no, it ends up being 1,300. Because you're doing 2, 3, and 4, you're adding 2%.
So, question.
Yes, wait just a minute.
Maybe I did.
This is a question on the amendment, correct?
This is a question on the salaries. When do they have to be passed?
To
By
this-
June 1st.
By June 1st.
This month?
Now, when I asked the question, it's $5,000 raise, and you said for the next 4 years, I understood that answer to be a $5,000 raise this year, $5,000 raise
No.
consecutive.
No.
So on and so on.
It's
So
a
you
It'd
were
just be
looking
a
at,
total of 20,000 for the next term.
this would be 20,000 for the term, yes.
No.
That's what I thought.
5,000.
Compared to your last term, it's $20,000. Every payment went up $5,000 and you're getting 4 payments.
No. They're
So
getting
it's
one
$5,000,
payment that
it's a
first
$5,000.
year. It's one first year, they get $5,000, and that salary
Then
remains
the
the
next
same.
year, you've got 5,000 more than you're making currently. Did you say currently they made the same amount every year?
Yes.
Their contract is the same every year, so every year went up $5,000, so over 4 years, the county spent $20,000.
The way this reads, the way I understand the way this reads, if this passes this December the 1st, they will go from 58,330 to 63,330.
Which is 9%.
Well, then the following December the 1st, they will get nothing. It will still be 63,330, and December of 24, it will be 63,330, and December of 25, it'll be 63,330. There's nothing except the first $5,000, and then they're locked in for 4 years.
But if you look at what they made the last 4 years, and you look at what they'll make the next 4, is there not $20,000 difference?
So the base salary increases, it will increase by
Am I
the
not
end of
getting this
the, by
right?
the end of the term, he's saying it'll be a $20,000, because each 5
Over the
years,
term.
they get 5,000 more than what they're
had
getting
before.
now.
So that's not 20,000 though.
Yes,
It
it
is.
is.
Not 20,000.
But I see what you're saying. Well, their salary will increase to 63,000 every year.
No. Oh, yeah, every year.
Yeah. So if you
But it's
incorporate,
like if you're making $10 an hour,
They're not getting
And
a
you
raise,
gave
they're
me-
getting a bonus.
well, they're getting a raise in their salary.
Correct.
But I see what you're saying also about the cost of living raise, an additional 2% every year because.
Yeah, and not the first year when it goes up this December, but then 2% for years 2, 3, and 4.
Your salary's getting raised one
Yeah, we
time.
won't have a.
Yeah, your salary
For
goes
a
up
year.
one time, but then you get a cost of living raise.
Just a minute, but hasn't that been done in the past where it was raised for your whole term? It didn't go up every year of your term?
It doesn't go up for every year of the term, it just locks it in for 5,000, and that amount stays the same, that's the way it's always been done. It doesn't have to be that way, I'm just saying that's the way it's always done. That's why we just recommended $5,000. If you want to change it and put a 2% in there, vote on it.
But it will be $20,000 more than the last term.
No.
Write it down on a piece of paper, show me where I'm wrong.
What you're saying, Gary, is if we give them 5,000, then we never have to raise them again because they're getting 5,000 more every year, and that's not fair.
No, I'm saying they're getting $5,000 a year for the next 4 years.
4 years.
What they passed, so they got $20,000 for the term, for the 4 years.
They're getting one-time $5,000.
You're increasing
And then you're
their
going back to what
salary
you
for
had
$5,000 by $5,000.
And it's-
So you're not giving them a perk the next 3 years because you increased their salary.
Well, I didn't, but the
Well, I
committee
mean,
did, yes.
we have increased their
We're
salary.
discussing it,
So
right.
basically, I see the argument here. In addition to their base salary, which will now be $63,000, they're asking for an additional 2% as a cost of living raise, as inflation and things are gonna happen in the next 4 years. That is a 2% to their base, which is now $63,000.
Or will be, yes.
Yes, Cassie?
So I'm looking at this little thing that we have in our seats. And what I'm seeing is that we have 4 department leaderships, 4 office leadership positions that are making 6 figures a year. And I believe those are the positions that are getting a raise, a yearly percent raise. And then I'm looking down and I see 1, 2, 3, 4 positions that are making $58,000 a year that are being told they're going to get $5,000 raise, bumping them up to the 63 figure, and then they're going to stay there. They're frozen at 63. They don't get a raise
You can't
every
compare them
single
to
year.
you can't compare them to those other offices.
Why can't you?
Because they have to have the qualifications to do that. I mean, they have to have their degrees. No, they don't.
Sure they do.
No, they don't.
Qualified to
I
be
mean,
the
you
sheriff.
learn it.
Do you think I can walk
He's
down the
just-
street
yes,
and
you
be
can
the
learn his
assessor?
job. Jessica didn't come in here with, I mean, she has the college degree, yes, but the rest of them never did.
What about all the other, what about the highway people that get all this money? I mean, I think you're looking at leaders of our county,
I'm not saying
and
that.
sort of-
I'm not saying that.
I just think looking at the leaders of the county that are running the county for us, to not even give them cost of living wages is sad on our part, that we can't find 2% to give them. Because before the state passed that the sheriff had to be 80% of the state's attorney, the agreement was gonna be to give him $16,000 and 2% a year to the sheriff.
Right, put him up.
And to say that the value is nearly half, 60% of what these other, between 50 and 60% of what we're paying these other department heads, no matter how you spin it, we're looking at $60,000 compared to 115-ish. I mean, that's a gap, no matter what kind of
I know, but
qualifications we're talking
they
about.
have to have
Wait just a minute, Barb. Okay, you finish, then be Barb.
Yeah, I'm just saying, when we're talking about the difference between freezing somebody at $63,000 who is leading a department within our community, in our county, and then somebody who's leading a department in our county at $114,000, and we're giving the person making $115,000 $1,300 and $14,000, a 2% raise every year, saying, well, we gave you a raise and bumped you up to 63, but you're not quite as qualified, just doesn't sit well within my conscience, within my sense of being. I would like to give those people a 2% raise as
Okay.
well.
Barb, you may make your
I'm just
comments.
saying, it's apples and oranges. If they want to give them the extra 2%, put it in a motion and vote on it. If they want to get the 5,000 and 2% the next 3 years, that's fine. Put it in a motion and vote on it. But you can't compare these three offices. I'm not saying you don't have to have some smarts to run these offices. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying they're do not on the same level with the other offices that make the higher money. So you can't compare
I
apples
do
and
know
oranges.
the sheriff's department changed, and now he has requirements to
Right,
make, which
yeah.
in the past, the sheriff didn't
That's
have minimum
exactly right.
requirements. Derek, you were up first.
I got a quick question, follow-up. The 58,000, how long has it been at that for those offices?
4 years. 3 years? I don't think it got changed the whole 4 years, did it?
What was it
We're
prior
coming
to
on
that?
4 years.
Our salaries were frozen for 8 years. The elected official salaries were frozen for 8 years. For the 2018 election, they bumped the county clerk and the sheriff up $4,000, and the treasurer, since that position was going to be new, got $2,000 the first year, $2,000 in 2 years, and the supervisor of assessments was on a different election cycle, so they were making $2,000 more than we were, so they only got a $2,000 increase.
And it had to do with new people coming in, was the reason it was done.
Okay.
My follow-up to that, all right, so I mean, if you're talking like 8 years where that's frozen, I'm just thinking, just tracking minimum wage over the last 8 years, what that's done, what inflation has done. Obviously, it hasn't even came close to that. With doing raises for those departments too, you're losing some of your expense with the new setup that the sheriff has too. The county's gonna be paying out less money for the sheriff's salary, right? Because some of that's gonna be coming from the state. So that's gonna offset some of that to begin with. But the bigger part, that chart kind of shows a few things and tells a few stories, but if I'm a county employee, I've got a job, I'm good. These elected departments, the risk of that, the risk and reward of that just doesn't look right to me. If I'm working in private industry right now and somebody says, hey, you want to run for county clerk, and I look at that and I go, okay, well, there's a salary and I may lose my job in 4 years with no unemployment, and then I got to go try to find another job at that point in time. There's a lot of risk to that, to try to get into that position. So I think from the perspective of trying to, attract people that are the smarts that we need to do that, I think we've got a good group here now. But just looking, 20 years down the road, if you're trying to attract people to do that, I think a lot of reasonable people might look at that and see the risk to that of leaving their current job to pursue that, where you've got a fixed salary for 4 years. And I think that's a good point about. I mean, how many jobs do you go into where you go, well, you're never getting a raise for the next 4 years?
Yeah. But that's always been
To me, I would look at that as a huge risk as far as, yeah. I think that the reward needs to be higher for the risk that you're taking going into those positions, to be honest.
Okay, Julie?
What positions are guaranteed a pay increase? Like a percentage, what did you say, 2% for the state's attorney?
I think just the state's ones, which is the state's attorney.
No.
being-
The state's attorneys are not guaranteed pay raises.
Okay, but it's in their contract that they're eligible for?
It's something that the legislature reviews.
They calculate.
So I don't see why it hurts to put that in the contract for all elected officials. I mean, if we're gonna give it to someone, why don't we give it to others?
Well, the state makes the law on
Oh,
what the
they
state's
take, okay.
attorney, the sheriff, the public defender.
Okay.
uh,
I agree with Barb, let's put it in motion and vote on it.
Do you want me just to amend my motion?
No, I think we have a motion. Teresa, and
Okay,
you be the last comment. and we're
okay.
going to vote
I
on
do have
this.
a comment. Most generally, when you compare these positions, you compare them with other counties that have these positions. Has anybody done that? Because that's how you come up with the salary ranges and stuff for these positions. And in this, I don't see where that was done at all.
Yes.
And I think maybe it was discussed in one of the meetings that I just sat in on with the salary group and stuff. Because to me, you've got to compare them to like-kind jobs. Now, you can do that. There can be surveys ran, because Erica went to her office and ran one of the meetings I was at, and brought it and showed the committee what these people make comparably in the same positions that these girls are in and stuff. So to me, if you're going to compare apples to apples, that's how you do it, with salaries of other people from other counties that have these same positions. But you'd have to go try to find a county about the same size, same people, and stuff like that to do that. But the other part of this is, I'm not on this committee, but Jessica and Erica, and who else gets that? 65, how much?
$6,300.
$6,300 a year.
The stipend?
Oh, the
Yes, the
stipend. No, the
stipend.
stipend is just
Jessica and Erica. Debbie Dunaway does not get that.
stipend.
Does not get that stipend, and that is paid towards their IMRF retirement and stuff. And Debbie Dunaway's job, there's qualifications and tests that have to be taken to have that job. And I know she took that job, she's taken all the qualifications, she's done all that, but she's shorted that amount of money going towards her retirement and stuff that hasn't even been addressed here. And that's quite a bit of money.
But
So,
they know when they
What's-
go in.
but they know all this when they go into the position and stuff. But in thinking about it, you want to talk about unfair, that to me, that affects her retirement and stuff. And that's not ever been addressed and stuff in any of this.
Okay, Barb was next.
Just, we did have a survey on about 10 of these counties or whatever, and some of them are higher, some of them are lower. In general, they're probably a slight higher on some of these other counties. I'll give you that. So with a 2% raise, they probably would make it about, the extra 2% for the last 3 years. Maybe it'll bring them up there equitable, but we're not out of line with other counties.
Thank you.
Average or what?
Of those other counties, the comparable ones.
I don't know. I didn't do an average. If you want to look at it, you can look at it.
Bobby, 2 minutes, and then we're going to get to vote.
So what stipend are we talking about, Justine?
I guess the county clerks get a stipend because they administer the elections for the state. The treasurers get a stipend, the coroners get a stipend, the sheriff gets a stipend, circuit clerk gets a stipend. So most of us, the supervisor of assessments does not get a stipend.
I learned yesterday, I sat at the table with some assessors up at the meetings, and the assessors, if they reach a certain goal, which I don't understand assessor language, so I don't know what that is, but if they hit certain numbers, the state gives a bonus, pays out a bonus to assessors, but you have to achieve a certain thing. I never knew that, they were just talking about it, and I was sitting with a group of them.
And it goes to the assessor?
Some of them got the bonus, some of them hadn't, so.
And that goes directly to the assessor, just like the stipend, right? Just like the stipend. So they earn a stipend based, okay, I hadn't heard that before either.
Gary, can I just withdraw my motion? I made a motion for the 5,000.
Well, we have an amendment, so I think we better go with that. And your amendment exactly was to go $5,000 for the first year, and then raise that 2% each year after that.
Yeah, the 5,000, but then add on years 2, 3, and 4, 2% cost of living increase on years 2, 3, and 4.
Okay, I just want to make it totally clear. Okay, we're going to vote on the amendment. I'll make that totally clear, and we're going to roll call it.
Kenny Barb.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Okay.
Teresa Bain.
Yes.
Cassie Cox.
Yes.
Dennis Sturdivant.
Yes.
Julie Edwards.
Yes.
Gary Gergening.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
No.
Sharon Longman.
Yes.
Bobby Orman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
No.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 15 ayes to 2 nays, Lenz and Patterson.
That was just for the treasurer's office, right? That wasn't for all 3 offices?
That was supervisor of assessment.
Right, that was supervisor of assessments.
So now we're going to do the same thing for the other ones.
Okay, now we're going to the next one. And you want to make your same amendment for them, I assume?
Yes.
We have to vote on the motion.
Oh, that's right, we don't have,
Resolution first.
you're correct. Okay, now roll call on the motion for the assessor. Amended contract.
Kenny Barr,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett,
Okay, now, what are we doing?
We're voting for actually the amended resolution now.
Oh, okay,
The
yeah,
first one was for the amendment, this is for the resolution.
okay.
okay, Barb,
Yes.
okay. Teresa Bank,
Yes.
Cassie Cox,
Yes.
Dennis Sturdivant,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Rod Height,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
Yeah.
Sharon Ogman,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
Yes?
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, now we're on to the second one, so I need a motion for the resolution first.
Yes.
Don Tate makes the motion for the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Julie. Don Tate?
I'll make an amendment to that motion to add a 2% cost of living increase in years 2, 3, and 4, as we did for the supervisor assessor.
And I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, Kathy seconds that. Now, is there any questions on the amendment? Good. Roll call vote on the amendment.
Kenny Barr,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bank,
Yes.
Cassie Cox,
Yes.
Dennis Sturdivant,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Rod Height,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
Yes.
Sharon Ogman,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
No?
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 15 ayes, 1 pass, Lenz, and Gary Patterson voting no.
Okay, now we'll vote on the amendment, we'll vote on the resolution as amended. Roll call, please. Are you out of paper yet?
No, I'm just
Okay.
confused.
Me too.
Okay. Kenny Barr,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett, Teresa Bank,
Pass?
Cassie Cox,
Yes.
Dennis Sturdivant,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Rod Height,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
No.
Sharon Ogman,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
Yes?
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Jeff Slifer, oh, never mind, he's not here, Don Tate,
Yes.
On the tractor.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 14 ayes, 1 pass, 2 nays. Barb Bennett and Larry Lenz.
Okay, now we're down to the last one, which is the county clerk. And looking for a motion for the resolution, which Sharon made. A second?
Yes.
Kenny Barr makes a second. I assume somebody wants to make an amendment. Don Tate?
Motion for the amendment for the 2% cost of living.
On the 2, 3, and 4.
3 and 4.
Second on the amendment. Derek Piercy? Okay, we'll vote on the amendment first. Roll call.
Kenny Barr,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bank,
Yes.
Cassie Cox,
Yes.
Dennis Sturdivant,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany,
Yes.
Rod Height,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
Yeah.
Sharon Ogman,
Yes.
Bobby Warman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
No.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
Robert Simpson, Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 16 ayes and 1 nay Patterson.
Okay, now we'll vote on the resolution as amended. Roll call one more time.
Kenny Barb,
Yes.
Barbara Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bahane,
Yes.
Cassie Cox,
Yes.
Dennis Cernovich,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Gary Gergany, Rod Height,
Yes.
Matt Kessler,
Yes.
Larry Lenz,
No.
Sharon Ongman,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Gary Patterson,
Yes.
Derek Piercy,
Yes.
Robert Simpson,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 16 ayes, 1 nay, Lenz.
Okay, looks like we're down to item number 14, if we're all still on board and agree. And this is discussion and vote on the resolution to amend the IMRF. And I'm going to let Erica speak to that because I really don't have any details except the resolution.
Well, the details are in the resolution, so I'm not sure what you want me to speak to.
Okay, no history or additional reports or?
I've sent it all out. I've told you it's, because of our accelerated earnings, it's because of pension spiking, it's because we're paying down what we owe so that we don't pay 7.5% interest. We're paid down. Our preliminary rates for next year are 5.54 for regular, 8.02 for SLAP. What will happen after that is with all the ARPA funds, they'll probably shoot sky high, but, we have to pay IMRF. We don't have an option. And when you have the accelerated earnings that you either have to pay or you start paying, 7.5%, we had the $399,000 that we needed to pay down or pay $29,000 in interest because it's day one. January 1, you pay 7.5%. That would have been $29,000 something. I gave you the numbers when we passed back. So, we've already spent more than we've appropriated. We're going to keep spending more. And with all the ARPA funds that we're spending, I can't tell you where it's going to end this year. But we've spent more than we've appropriated already. So I would like to ask you to please allow me to stop making illegal payments.
Barb makes the motion, I assume.
I'll second.
Second by Don Tate. Any questions for Eric on it?
Gary,
Julie?
last month when you, I think you were the one who
Actually,
asked to
it's tabled.
table it.
Mm-hmm.
Was the reason why we were gonna ask Erica if there's a way that she can, when she makes her budget, that she can that we can add it so we don't have to keep amending? Was that the reason we tabled it?
That's the reason I seconded it to table it, because I felt like every year we've amended it, and I felt like IMRF should be sending some kind of reports that gives us some idea what next year's going to be like, to where our amendments should get smaller, and that hasn't happened, so that was the reason I made the comments at the time. Any other questions from the board? Oh,
Well, I was gonna ask Erica if she does get those reports.
I get a preliminary in April, but we get the final in November. And they do this actuarial, and it's gonna depend on, when people retire. With IMRF, technically, they like you to kind of let them know, you're supposed to kind of let them know at 12 months in advance. I can think of 2 people in the last 3.5 years that I've been here, I knew in advance they were retiring. Usually, I am notified, I either get something from IMRF asking me about, employee Smith who's retiring, that's the first I've heard of it, or when they've actually retired with the last timesheet, I get a termination and they're done. So, there's certain things that I don't know. But again, when someone retires, I can tell you in the last couple of years, we paid a $28,000 accelerated payment. We just paid a $19,000 accelerated payment. We paid a $23,000 accelerated payment. We paid a $13,000 accelerated payment, and then another in the 20s. Because when we're just, going along based on their salary, but then when you add like retro pay or large cash outs of vacation, large cash outs of comp time, you know, or this ARPA fund is gonna drive pensions through the roof. Anybody that is even remotely close to retiring, within the next 36 months, I mean, we're shot dead in the water. But the other thing is, and I would like to get Mandy here from IMRF to really go over it, but the final rate of earnings for any employee that leaves is their highest 48 paid months. So over the next, you know, when we're funneling ARPA funds to the tune of what we're funneling ARPA funds and driving up pensions, anybody that's in the county now, when they retire, it's probably going to come back to these 69 months. And so, I mean, there's some things that there's just variables we don't know. And then if people choose to retire early, I can say that probably within the next year, this next year, the rate's going down to 5.54 and 802 is because we did have 2 employees that left the county that cashed out their retirement. So they got, you know, their contribution. The county contribution then sits there to support, you know, other, so that helps this year. And I was told it takes about 2 years to see that, so I think we're in year 2 where we're seeing that now. But, so next calendar year, our rates will go down, but the year after that, they're probably going way up. So, there's some things that are just unforeseen. Yeah.
Thank you. And in my response to that, you get 2 reports a year. How do they tell you about these $13,000 and $25,000, and how do you learn about those?
I get a letter in the mail, and from that date, we have 90 days to pay.
Okay, so you do get something from IMRF. Does it state the name and that you owe this many dollars on that account, or does it just state you owe this many dollars on the account?
No, it tells the employee and then what their final rate of earnings was,
Okay.
and that throughout their term of employment, basically their retirement was underfunded.
Okay, so is there any reason the board could not receive copies of those reports so we have some details of what's driving our retirement up and down?
Well, I think I've been given them. I think the last one I even submitted to purchasing so that I could pay the payment to IMRF, did I not?
Not on purchasing. Do you guys see
Yes, you know,
IMRF?
Jessica sends out the budget report, quarterly reports.
It's not on there.
Yes, they are.
It's just the bottom line. It doesn't break it down into what it is. It tells you how much the balance changed, but it doesn't tell you calculations or anything like that changing, or where the money went.
I think I've maybe sent them out in an email that we have this. I mean, I've been doing my best to communicate. But where the IMRF budget stands, I mean, Jessica sends out quarterly budget reports to the full board so that we know where every fund is. And technically, the IMRF fund is run by the board. So, you know, and I will say that when I took office, the county was $800,000 in the hole. The December that I took office, prior to me taking office, you know, that December at that board meeting, we sent a $500,000 check. Then the next year, we sent a $500,000 check. But, you know, that's obviously, you know, $1 million. So there's stuff that drives that up every year.
Right. We've sent them a check every year. And
Well, I think they look at our retirement, but when overall, like, we paid out over 3 years of retro pay on the FOP union. That averaged probably around $10,000 per employee. When you can take 3 years of increases and you submit it all in one lump sum, IMRF's going, you know, looking at that, and there's obviously going to be an increase of what we need to do to support.
okay, I guess I ask if this report's going to that purchasing committee. I think it should go to this whole board because we're spending over $1 million a year and we're not receiving any kind of an itemized bill except the one at the end of the year where they tell us we're X number of dollars behind. And
You're right.
personally, I do not like that. Julie, I
I'm
think
kind of agree
No,
with
I'm sorry,
that.
Bobby's up next. He's wore his arm out back here.
Yeah, so I think the finance committee should pick this up because finance is part of the budget committee. So therefore, if the finance committee is engaged with the treasurer and engaged with the IMRF funds and these 4 funds that we have, is there 29? Is that
IMRF is in 029, correct?
It's its own fund, okay.
Well, it's listed there on the budget statement, I mean, on the budget. Yes.
Either way, this would be a good spot for the finance committee to start picking up these numbers, and then we can, as a committee, report to the board.
But it, because 029 is accounts not separately budgeted, but even though it's in 029, IMRF and Social Security are their own funds. And I'm going to say this about IMRF. In 2010, the decision was made to reduce that levy from $800,000 to $400,000. It took us, being a P-TEL county, years to climb out of that hole. You don't want to reduce your IMRF levy ever again, ever, because you're limited by the CPI. It can only grow so much. And moving forward, you're probably going to have to reduce other tax levies in order to bump your IMRF fund up to meet your pension demand. So just keep that in mind.
One
Hey,
more
Jessica,
question.
what are we levied at now for IMRF?
We levy $900,000 a year for IMRF.
Now, right now. So working on a budget for next year for the IMRF, it's been have you used 700,000 to this point on your line item for IMRF?
I did this year, I don't remember what it was last year.
It was 700.
Because I thought we had paid down, because we paid the 500,000, 500,000, and then 300,000. And I didn't know we were gonna have the $399,000. You know, like I said, we get the preliminary rate in April, we get the finalized rate in November. And then that's why in November, we go to the by December, if we've got a lump sum that we need to pay, you know, we pay that lump sum, because January 1, we're paying 7.5% on whatever's left.
So when you're working on your budget with Bruce, everybody's working on their budgets and
And the
stuff.
budget committee, yes.
And he's going back 3 years and looking at stuff. Will that 700 go up for next year then?
That 700 is gonna go up considerably because of the ARPA funds. We have to budget IMRF out of ARPA, and then we'll reimburse from ARPA to IMRF.
How about the non-ARPA part of it? Will that be raised from 700? Is it going to be 700 plus ARPA, or are you going to raise that and then add ARPA on top of it?
I'm not even figuring that.
Okay.
Good question.
I mean, I'll look at a payroll and then what we, on average, monthly pay to IMRF through a payroll, which has increased dramatically with the ARPA. And when we choose, you know, if we so choose to do ARPA for AFSCME and non-union employees, I can't guess what that is going to be at this point.
But you're looking at total ARPA, you're looking at total IMRF. It doesn't matter where the money came from. You're looking at the total amount spent when you do your budget. That's what I heard.
You
I
should
think.
budget what you levy, basically, because that's probably where your ballpark's going to be. I mean, you don't want to ask the taxpayers for $900,000 if all you need is $500,000.
So if you levy 900, you should budget 900?
Or more.
That's what's in the budget this year is 900, but that's what we left, 900,000.
We levied 900, we budgeted 700.
This current year.
Right,
going
right.
For
Going-
next year,
is-
we
yeah.
budgeted, I submitted to go over the 900,000. What you all choose, I don't set the budget, the county board sets the budget.
Well, you start it and then come forward, and so, we haven't seen it yet with Bellwether, so, okay. I'm satisfied let's roll call.
I have a question. Slifer tabled this. If this was tabled at the last meeting, it has to be removed from the table. And Slifer made the motion to table, you seconded it.
I was told today that since it was on the agenda, it was already pulled off, so it's
No,
not.
no, because the commuting policy wasn't.
Okay.
It had to be removed
I will
from the
make the
table.
motion to pull it off the table then.
Okay, perfect.
Somebody help me out, because Jeff's not going to, guys.
I'll second.
Perfect. Julie will. Get that. Roll call.
Well, you got to vote on a motion to remove it from the table first.
I know that's what it's for.
You can just do a voice vote on that.
Oh, we can?
Mhm.
No money, okay. Ayes in favor?
Aye.
Is there any nays? Okay, it's off the table. Now we can vote on the motion.
Now you need a motion and a second to vote on the motion.
Oh, we never had one yet. Okay, I thought we
On
had.
the resolution to amend the budget for IMRF.
I'll second it.
And Don Tate was quickest, he's the second.
Perfect, okay. Kenny Barr.
Yeah.
Barbara Bennett. Teresa Banks.
Yes.
Cassie Cox. Dennis Cernovich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards. Gary Gergany.
Yes.
Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz. Sharon Ogman. Bobby Worman. Gary Patterson.
I'm going to abstain because I haven't been seeing these reports.
Okay, Derek Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson. Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes 16 ayes, 1 abstain. Patterson.
Committee reports. Anybody got a committee report? I have one I'll make for the farm committee that for the most part's not here. Carol made the good news that the crop is planted, and I can make more good news that FS has received donations for almost the full $7,000 chemical bill.
Wow.
And now, I think we'll share next. Okay.
And I don't know where to put this, if it's a committee. First of all, I think on the agenda every month, we need to have a line item that says old business so we can bring things up. I don't feel it's my place to speak during public comment. But my comment is, 2 months ago, we had people in here to talk about a forensic audit, all the bad things that have gone on. It's 2 months later. What are we doing? We need to do something to fix it, to start addressing the issues. What do we need to do to move forward?
I think it's moving forward, but the two people that are doing that are not here this evening. So I can't tell you where it's at. The chairman, the state's attorney, I think the clerk and the treasurer were on the forensic audit, right?
I haven't heard anything since it was presented.
Okay. Okay. Well, then the other two, I'm sure, have been talking about it, but I do not know what the results are.
Brian Kaufman
And the state's attorney.
that's all the committee is?
She's recused from that.
No, but
There was actually
when
one
he was
point
doing
of
the
contact.
audit, they was a point of contact. She didn't make it, she was just a point of contact.
She's recused herself.
From being a point of contact?
From the whole,
Anything
the
to
whole
do
thing.
with.
Hey, I wasn't aware of that.
That's because she
Okay, then I guess I'm gonna have to say the chairman, because unless one of you here knows about it, I do not.
So when she removed her, when she sent the state police investigation to the appellate prosecutor, and the appellate prosecutor punted it off to the AG, she removed herself from that because she would not prosecute. So she removed herself from that situation. That's recusal of a payroll investigation, therefore it's
So she's,
recusal of payroll. And
okay,
this is payroll investigation. So,
okay. I wasn't aware of that.
I brought that up a while back, and we board were basically without legal representation.
Yes. And she said, we asked her to get us some.
She said it's in the Attorney General's office, didn't she? I mean, they are handling it, and so we're waiting for some kind of ruling or something from them. A lot of the problems that have arose, I mean, we have corrected things as we have went along. There's maybe still some things we need to correct. Some of the other issues, they're still debating on or trying to decide in the Attorney General's office. None of Nicole's not doing it. But a lot of things we've already tried to fix as we, over the years.
When will we get updates on all this? I've been told nothing of nothing. I mean, shouldn't we be getting updates on what's being addressed?
I've been told what she said, that the audit was turned over to the Attorney General's office, and I've been told then it will be assigned to a committee of this board by the board chairman, and I was told it would be at least a couple of months before that happened, and I'm sure they're waiting on the Attorney General.
Why would it be turned over to the county board? Why would the Attorney General get it? I'm confused.
Because there's some legalities to it. It has to be turned over to those.
I guess I asked to leave the questions until there's people here that can answer them, because I cannot. It doesn't look like anybody else in this board can, and this is just for the board right now.
The Attorney
I'll
General,
let Jay answer it if he...
the state's attorney can't do an investigation of its own clients. So the Attorney General has it, we're waiting to hear from them.
Which
if the information was correct, that there was paperwork requested that was never turned in to the auditor. How accurate is this forensic audit? Because there's documentations that was requested, and they were told they didn't exist. And that his decision has been based on missing information.
Well, we have to wait till we get some kind of ruling back, and then we'll discuss some of this stuff. But just because Kirk says it, doesn't make it so.
It's
So
your
let's
record.
just kinda quit going by him.
I'm not going by Kirk, but I'm not going by Kirk, but as a business owner, if you own a business and you know things are wrong, you can't fix all of them at once, but you can start getting people to start fixing
That's what we've
this
been
item.
doing.
Okay, let me try to resolve this whole thing. How about if I have the board chairman send all the board members an update on what's on his plate and what's on his agenda and time frame on handling this, and then we'll all have the same answer at the same time, and that should tell us what direction this is going.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more committee reports?
Yeah, Gary.
Yes.
So the finance committee met with Bellwether, about 2 weeks ago?
May the 2nd, correct.
And basically, we discussed the use of the ARPA funds and kind of the extent of the MOU. And if you haven't heard, or if it hasn't clicked, there is a standard deduction that the feds change on the use of ARPA. So basically, if it's a budgetable thing, we could spend money on it using ARPA funds. So that's, I'm going to go back to that in a second. But one thing I'd like to point out on with what the treasurer is saying about retirements and IMRF is we're projected to spend the better part of 3/4 of ARPA on the MOUs by year 3 or 4. So that's projection.
If they're done as projected, which so far only one's done.
Right. So just bear in mind if, like I had a road commissioner that caught wind that we had funds. And more or less just coming right out of that finance committee meeting, my response to him was, I would love to put out something to, the general public, the nonprofits or something like that that were suppressed during COVID or something like that, or even, there's 22 townships in the county, and his and I discussion basically led to, if we had $1 million left over in ARPA, we could open up a $50,000 grant more or less. It'd be not a grant, but it would be an addition to their funds, which would equate to about $1 million. It's $40-some thousand per township. Just make it an even flat fee, which would bolster a lot of townships for at least 1 year. But the issue with it is, like I said earlier, if we're projected to be at 3/4 consumption, the issue is when we bring on new employees in either AFSCME or FOP, that bumps the consumption of ARPA significantly. So I just want to make the point that we, with the MOU and the potential MOU coming down the road, could basically just swallow up the majority of our funds. I just want to be everybody kind of aware of that. And if there's anything wrong that I spoke to, please speak up. But that's basically what's been stuck in my head. And
And I will add to that, that's basically why I called the meeting on May the 2nd, and then Bruce said he wanted to come down and speak to us, which was really good, and it was for that reason we've had since last fall, we asked for requests from all the departments in the county of what they would like to see done to improve their departments and use these funds. And we hadn't seen them yet, so the committee all received that list of what the departments had asked for. We've had some other requests from, inside the county, like the request on the building that we had last month. A few of us individually went and looked at that building, but but they are asking for some of the funds. We haven't even asked for people to apply except the ones inside the county so far. And when Bruce did his presentation, he told us the rules have changed continuously and finally got to where anything that can be budgeted, it can be spent on. But he said the first thing you need to do is find out what you're already committed to and try to get an accurate dollar amount and then see what it's going to take extra, like Bobby said, in the next 3 years. And then from there, you'll see how many dollars you still got to commit. Because he said the thing you got to remember is if we commit it and we run out of funds, we pay for it with taxpayer money. So he said you need to plan, you need to know where you're at, and that's the reason I called the meeting, and we got some very good information. And Bruce told us that day that he was actually in the courthouse gathering information, because he says, I'm not real comfortable with my numbers yet, but he said I've got to be before I come back down to do budgeting, because we're going to be looking at the next 3 years when we budget, not just 1 year. And so it was a very good meeting. I think we all got a lot of good information. And we made no commitments to anything that day. It was strictly an information meeting. The only commitment we made is we individually went and looked at the building if we wanted to go. And so some went and looked at the building, and that was it.
One thing that, before I close comments on this, or close my comments, the shocking thing that he said in the committee meeting, and I hope it doesn't happen, is, if I can quote him, and I'm going to try to do the best I can, he would not guarantee that we would be solvent by 25.
Say that again? He said that we would not be
Not be,
insolvent.
he could not guarantee that we would be solvent by 25. Basically referring to the rate of expenditure that we're on.
And being on tax caps.
That's
Those
correct.
two together. That was
That's what he said.
That's the two things he made. Those two things going together limits how much we can bring in and what our growth is. And yes, he did make that comment, which we all needed to hear. But he's still in the gathering process, because all the departments are sending him numbers, and like I said, we're still negotiating with people on the current ARPA funds, and so we got lots of information that day, but no decisions could be made because we're last on the list.
I have a committee report.
Okay.
Mark Bennett wasn't here Tuesday for purchasing. We went through all the bills, and we got all the questions answered, and we approved the bills for last month. So I'll make that as a motion.
Point of order, I know where Gary's going with that, but I think we need chairman appointments for Rodney McLean.
Yeah, we're not to the bills yet, right? That'll be coming up. So, okay, so the only thing we have is... Oh, I'm sorry. I missed you.
I was going to ask when the next finance committee meeting is.
It will not be set until the ASME negotiations are coming up May the 17th, next week. So depending on that meeting will determine when the finance committee next meets.
And Gary is you're chair of the committee.
Yes, I'm the chair of that committee, but I really can't go anywhere with any more planning, because that's our first thing to do is get into ARPA funds, and then we join the fees and salaries and the chairman to jump into the budget, which will start, I think, tentatively in June. And so, yeah, there's no reason to have meetings till we have a reason to move forward, and we're not at that point yet, but after the 17th, we may be. And it'll be announced when we do plan it. And I don't have any updates other than what I've already went over. Appointments. The Findlay Fire Department has asked for Rodney McLean for a 3-year term. Denny makes that motion.
I'll second.
Gary was first. Gary's second on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Rodney's on the fire department. Now we're down to where you can approve the claims.
I will make a motion on it.
Okay? We do not need a second.
Yeah, we do.
We do. Second? Don Kate's going to second that, okay.
Kenny Barr.
Yes.
Barbara Bennett.
Yes.
Teresa Bank.
Yes.
Cassie Cox. Dennis Cernovich.
Yes.
Julie Edwards. Gary Gergany. Rod Height.
Yes.
Matt Kessler.
Yes.
Larry Lenz.
Yeah.
Sharon Ogman.
Yes.
Bobby Warman.
Yes.
Gary Patterson.
Yes.
Gary Piercy.
Yes.
Robert Simpson. Don Tate.
Yes.
Lynn Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Motion to adjourn.
Lynn Williams,
Second.
Bobby second. All in favor? Aye. And thanks for your patience with me tonight, all of you.
That's right in here. See that right there? That's my left hand. And this is a little thing he sold. And the people, because he's gonna be building.
Yeah,